My name is Amanda Lewis. I'm 31 years old, born in Ohio, but now living in Phoenix, Arizona. And 3 months ago, my life changed in a way no one could have predicted. I won the lottery. Not a few thousand, not even $1 million. I won $32 million. I still remember staring at that ticket in my kitchen, the numbers glowing back at me, my heart thundering like it was going to break through my ribs. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I laughed, then I cried, then I dropped to my knees on the cold tile floor. But here's the part you won't believe I didn't tell a soul. Not my mom, not my sister, not my best friend, and definitely not my ex-boyfriend, who still texted me now and then pretending to check in. Why? Because I already knew the truth. The people closest to me didn't love me for me. They loved me for what I gave them. My time, my patience, my constant financial support. See, before the win, I was the one always covering the rent when my sister was between jobs. I was the one buying groceries for my mom when she said her paycheck got cut. I was the one spotting friends $20 here, $50 there, with promises I'd never see repaid. So when the universe handed me millions, I made a decision. I would keep it quiet. I would act as if I was still broke, and I would see who truly cared for Amanda the woman, not the wallet. And let me tell you, what I discovered broke me more than poverty ever did. If you're listening to this, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you have kept that kind of secret? Or would you have shouted it to the world? Because the moment I kept it hidden, I set a trap. A silent, invisible trap. And one by one, the people I thought were family walked right into it. The first test came only a week after I cashed that ticket. My car broke down. Not really, it was a setup. I just wanted to see who'd step up if Amanda didn't have a dime. I asked my sister for help. I didn't ask for money, just a ride to work. And her answer? Amanda, I'm busy. Can't you just Uber or something? Uber, with the money I supposedly didn't have. That was my first clue. My first heartbreak. My first spark of anger. Because if you can't count on family for the smallest things, what happens when the big storms hit? You'll find out. I'll tell you how my so-called best friend reacted when I needed her most and how that revealed the ugliest truth of all. The car test with my sister still stung, but I brushed it off. Maybe she was really busy. Maybe I was overthinking. That's what I told myself. But then came the second test. And this one shattered something inside me. Her name was Megan, my best friend since high school. We'd been through everything together: breakups, road trips, late-night pizza on my couch when life felt too heavy. If there was one person I believed would always be in my corner, it was her. So I tested it. I called her on a rainy Friday night. My voice shook as I told her, Megan, I'm behind on my rent. They're threatening to evict me. Now, let me be clear, I wasn't behind. I had millions sitting quietly in the bank, untouchable, hidden. But I wanted to see her reaction. There was silence on the other end. Then a sigh. Mandy, I can't keep saving you. You know I'm already stretched thin. Maybe if you learn to budget better. Her words cut sharper than knives. This was the girl I once gave half my paycheck to when she couldn't pay her tuition. The same girl I drove 6 hours to pick up when her car died on the freeway. The same girl who cried in my arms when her father passed, and I never once left her side. And now, when all I asked for was help covering rent, not even money, just emotional support, she turned me into a burden. I'm not asking for thousands, Megan, I whispered. Just a little help until I figure things out. Her tone turned colder. I can't, Amanda. I have to look out for myself. I'm sorry. The word echoed like poison in my ear. That was the night I realized friendship, at least the kind I believed we had, was nothing more than a contract of convenience. As long as I was giving, she was loving. The moment I stopped, I became disposable. I hung up before she could say another word. My hand trembled as I stared at the phone screen. The rage inside me boiled, but beneath it, a strange calm settled. Because this was exactly why I kept the lottery a secret. It wasn't about the money. It was about truth. And the truth was brutal. When I was broke, they turned away. When I had nothing to offer, they had nothing to give. But soon, they would know who Amanda really was. Not the broke sister. Not the struggling friend. Not the girl desperate for scraps of affection. No. They would meet the Amanda who held power, and when that day came, they'd regret every excuse. I'll show you what happened when my mom, the one person I thought loved me unconditionally, showed her true colors. That was the moment my revenge truly began. If there was one person I believed would never fail me, it was my mother. She raised me alone after my father left. She worked double shifts at the diner, came home with aching feet, and still made sure my homework was done, my clothes were clean, and I never went to bed hungry. I thought that kind of love was unshakable, eternal, untouchable, but I was wrong. 2 weeks after my so-called best friend's rejection, I tested my mother. This one wasn't about money. It was about care, about whether she'd stand by me when I pretended to hit rock bottom. I sat across from her in her tiny kitchen, the smell of coffee and fried bacon filling the air. I forced my hands to tremble as I held my cup. "Mom," I whispered, "I think I'm going to lose my job. My boss is cutting hours. I don't know how I'm going to make it." She didn't even look at me at first. She just kept stirring sugar into her coffee, slow and deliberate. Then she said, almost casually, "Amanda, you're 31. It's time you stop leaning on other people." Her words froze me. I blinked, confused. "I'm not leaning, Mom. I thought maybe I could stay here a little while, until I figure things out." That's when her eyes finally met mine. And they weren't soft. They weren't motherly. They were tired, cold, distant. "Amanda, I don't have room. You've made your choices. Maybe it's time you learn how to stand on your own feet." My own mother. The woman I'd given Christmas money to when she couldn't afford gifts. The woman I paid electricity bills for when she cried on the phone about the power company. The woman I once swore I'd take care of until her last breath, and now? She was shoving me out of her life like I was nothing more than a stray cat begging for scraps. I forced a smile, my throat burning. "Of course, Mom, I understand," but inside, I was crumbling. When I left her house that night, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel, my chest heaving with silent sobs. If even my mother could turn cold, who did I have left? That was the moment I stopped being hurt and started being dangerous, because if love could be so conditional, then I didn't owe anyone mercy. The next time my family came knocking, it wouldn't be me begging for scraps. It would be them, and I'd be ready. You'll see how the trap finally snapped shut when my family came to me desperate for help, completely unaware of the millions I had hidden away. That's when the real game began. For weeks, I kept my silence. I went to work like nothing had changed. I smiled at people who didn't deserve it. I played the broke, struggling Amanda everyone was used to seeing, but inside, I was watching, waiting. It didn't take long. The first to come crawling was my sister. The same sister who wouldn't give me a ride to work when I asked. She showed up at my apartment, tears already staining her mascara. "Amanda, I need $500. Please." My landlord's threatening to kick me out. 500. A laugh nearly escaped my throat. I had 32 million sitting quietly in my account, earning interest. And here was my sister, finally tasting the same fear she dismissed me with. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "I wish I could help," I said softly, "but I don't even know how I'm going to cover my own rent this month." Her face fell. "You can't be serious. You've always helped me before." "Yeah," I whispered, letting the bitterness drip. "And look where that got me." She stormed off, muttering under her breath, but I didn't chase her. For the first time, I didn't have to. 2 days later, it was Megan, my best friend. She called me, her voice trembling. "Mandy, I hate to ask this, but my car got repossessed. If I don't get it back, I'll lose my job. Can you loan me $1,000? Just until payday." The same woman who told me to budget better when I begged her for help was now begging me. I pressed the phone to my ear. smiling in the dark. Megan, I'm sorry. I'm barely keeping my lights on. I don't have anything to give. There was a long pause. Then she snapped, wow, some friend you are, click. She hung up. The hypocrisy was almost laughable. When I needed them, they vanished. Now, with their lives unraveling, they expected me to swoop in like a savior, but the best moment came a week later. My mother, she called me in the middle of the night, her voice shaking. Amanda, I hate to ask this, but I'm behind on the mortgage. If I don't pay soon, I'll lose the house. I sat there in the dark, the phone pressed to my ear, my heart pounding. This was it. The woman who told me to stand on my own feet was begging for mine to stand under hers, and I realized something in that moment. Revenge wasn't just about payback. It was about patience. It was about letting people show you exactly who they are and then deciding how to respond. I didn't scream. I didn't remind her of her cold words in the kitchen. I just said quietly, I'll see what I can do, and I hung up. Because I already knew exactly what I was going to do. You'll see how I began weaving the perfect revenge, slow, subtle, and devastating. A plan that would leave them begging on their knees, without ever realizing I had the power all along. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, my mother's desperate voice echoing in my head. The irony was almost poetic. The woman who told me I had to stand on my own feet was now asking me to carry hers, and that's when it hit me. Revenge didn't have to be loud. It didn't have to be a screaming match or a slammed door or some dramatic outburst. No, true revenge was quiet, patient, methodical, like a chess game. So I started planning. Step 1. Silence. I wouldn't reveal my secret. Not yet. I'd let them believe I was struggling, hanging on by a thread, powerless. Because powerless people are easy to underestimate. Step 2. Tests. I'd keep asking for small favors. Not money favors. Rides. A borrowed casserole dish. A helping hand with groceries. Tiny, harmless requests. And every time they turned me down, every excuse they gave, I'd tuck it away like ammunition. Step 3. The reveal. This was the part that made my blood thrum with anticipation. One day, when they were desperate enough, when they had nothing left to cling to, I'd show them who I really was. Not the broke Amanda. Not the struggling Amanda. The Amanda who held $30 million. But here's the thing, when I revealed it, it wouldn't be to save them. It would be to destroy every illusion they ever had about me. To show them what they lost when they turned their backs. And step 4. The final cut. That part, I kept to myself. As the plan unfolded in my mind, I felt something shift inside me. The tears that had once fallen so easily dried up. The shaking in my hands steadied. The pain? It hardened into resolve. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was the architect of their downfall. And oh, how they would crumble when the trap snapped shut. The very next day, I tested the waters again. I called Megan, voice trembling, pretending I needed gas money to get to work. Her response? A groan, followed by, Amanda, seriously? I can't keep carrying you, carrying me. I almost laughed. One by one, they kept failing. One by one, they kept proving my decision right. The blueprint was working, and soon, the pieces would start moving on their own. I'll show you the first big move I made, how I used their own desperation to set the stage for the sweetest revenge they never saw coming. Revenge always starts with a little bait, something tempting enough to make them lean closer, desperate enough to make them reveal just how greedy they really are. For me, the bait was simple. A lie about an inheritance. One Sunday afternoon, I invited my sister, Megan, and my mom over to my apartment. I told them I had news. They came, curious but annoyed, as if stepping into my little place was a chore. We sat around my tiny kitchen table, the one with the chipped corner. I took a deep breath, pretending to be nervous. So, I got a letter from an old friend of Dad's. He left me a little something. Nothing big, just a few $1,000s. Their eyes lit up instantly. Not relief for me, Not happiness that maybe I could breathe a little easier. No, what I saw in their faces was calculation, greed. My mom leaned forward, voice sharp. How much exactly, Amanda? About 12,000, I whispered, lowering my gaze like I was ashamed. But I need to be careful with it, so I'm not planning to spend it. I watched their reactions like a hawk. Megan's mouth curled into a smile. Well, you could help me get my car back. You know, since you'll have extra now, my sister chimed in, and you know I've been drowning in rent. You can cover me this month, right? You wouldn't let me get thrown out, and my mom, my own mother, she gave me a look that still makes my stomach turn. You know the house means everything to me. A good daughter would make sure her mother doesn't lose her home. A good daughter. The words stung, but I kept my face still. That's when I knew. They didn't see me. Not really. They saw an ATM machine wearing my face. I pretended to hesitate, biting my lip, eyes flicking between them. I'll think about it. I don't want to blow it all at once, they pounced. One by one, begging, bargaining, guilt-tripping. The room buzzed with their voices, overlapping, clawing at me, and all I did was sit there, nodding, soaking it in. Every greedy word, every manipulative sigh, every guilt-laced plea, this was exactly what I needed. Proof, because when the time came, when I revealed the truth about my lottery win, I'd play back these moments in my mind like a movie, and I'd remember why they didn't deserve a dime. That night after they all left, I poured myself a glass of wine and smiled for the first time in weeks. The bait was set, and they had bitten harder than I ever dreamed. You'll see how I tightened the noose by offering them help, but in ways that exposed just how selfish and shameless they truly were. The thing about bait is, you don't just throw it out once and reel it back in. You let the fish circle. You let them think they're winning. And then, slowly, you pull. That's exactly what I did. A week after the inheritance conversation, I called my sister. My voice was soft, hesitant. I can give you a little. Not enough to cover your rent, but maybe a couple hundred. Her sigh was heavy with disappointment. Only a couple hundred? Amanda, you know I need more than that. I let silence hang in the air, then whispered, that's all I can do, and here's what she said, word for word. Sometimes I wonder if you even care about family. The word she only used when it benefited her. I bit my tongue, forcing my anger down, and told her I'd send the money, which I did, to $100 exactly. Enough to sting her pride, but not enough to actually solve her problem. Next came Megan. She called me late at night, her voice syrupy sweet. Mandy, you're a lifesaver. If you could just loan me a few hundred, I'll pay you back right away. I almost laughed. I knew she wouldn't pay me back. She never had. But I said yes, and when she came to pick it up, I handed her cash with trembling fingers, playing the broke, struggling friend. She didn't even say thank you. She just muttered, this should do for now, and rushed out the door. That's when I realized something terrifying but liberating. They weren't ashamed. Not at all. Their entitlement was so deep, so natural, that taking from me felt like their right. And then there was my mother. She called me 2 days later, voice cracking. Amanda, I just need enough to cover one payment. If I lose the house, I'll have nowhere to go. I sent her $500. And instead of gratitude, she said, that's it. I thought you said Dad's friend left you more than that. That sentence replayed in my head over and over again. That's it. My chest burned, but my face stayed calm. It's all I can spare right now, Mom. She sighed, heavy and disappointed, like I'd failed her. Like I wasn't a daughter, but a bank that had just closed early. And that's when the idea struck me. If they saw me as nothing more than a source of money, then I would use that against them. I'd let them ask, let them beg, let them keep exposing how deep their greed ran. And then when they were too far gone to crawl back, I'd show them what I really had. That reveal wouldn't just hurt, it would destroy. I'll tell you how their desperation escalated and how I started weaving lies so perfect they didn't even notice the trap closing around them. By the end of that month, the phone never stopped ringing. My sister, my mother, Megan, all of them circling me like vultures, each with their own sob story, each with their hand out, and me. I just kept spinning my web. I told my sister, I'm waiting on a check, but once it clears, I can give you a little more. I told Megan, I'm strapped right now, but maybe next week. I told my mother, I have some savings, but I need to be careful. Every word was a lie, and every lie kept them hooked. The greed grew uglier by the day. My sister showed up at my door one morning, red-faced and furious. Amanda, you can't just hold out on me. You know I'd help you if the roles were reversed. I almost choked on the irony. If the roles were reversed, I had been helping her my entire life. And the one time I asked for a simple ride, she couldn't be bothered, but I didn't say that. I just lowered my head and whispered, I'm doing my best. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. Megan was no better. She called me drunk one night, sobbing into the phone. You're supposed to be my best friend. If you won't help me, who will? I stayed silent, letting her rant, until she finally spat out, You're selfish, Amanda. Always have been selfish. Me, the woman who once drained her own bank account to make sure Megan could pay for textbooks in college. My mother's tone was colder than both of them combined. Amanda, I can't believe you're letting me drown like this. After everything I've done for you, I raised you, fed you, and this is how you repay me. I wanted to scream, to tell her I had enough money to buy her house 3 times over, to tell them all that their greed was showing, and I was done. But instead, I smiled in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, and said, I'll see what I can do, because I wasn't done. Not yet. Every plea, every accusation, every guilt trip, it was fuel, it was proof, it was building the perfect storm, and soon, oh, so soon, I would let the storm break. I'll tell you about the night I finally set the stage for the reveal, the night I invited them all over, with a plan so sharp it would cut them to pieces. By the time fall rolled around, I was done playing small games. The bait had been taken, the lies had worked. Their desperation was overflowing. It was time to bring them all together. I sent out a group text, dinner at my place Friday night. I need to talk to you all about something important. Within minutes, they replied. My sister, finally. Megan, I'll be there. My mom, I hope you're ready to do the right thing. The right thing. Those words burned, because in their minds, the right thing meant giving everything I had, everything they thought I had to save them. That Friday, I set the stage perfectly. My apartment was spotless, candles lit, a homemade dinner spread across the table. To them, it probably looked like I was trying to impress. To me, it was theater. They arrived one by one. My sister first, tapping her foot impatiently. Megan next, eyes darting around like she was already measuring what she could take. My mother last, her face tight, lips pressed in judgment. We sat. We ate. Small talk fizzled fast. Then the questions started. So, Amanda, my sister said, leaning in, are you finally going to tell us how much you really got? Megan jumped in. Yeah, you've been stringing us along for weeks. If you just told us the truth, maybe we could all relax. And my mom, sharp as a knife, enough games, Amanda. If you care about this family, you'll put your cards on the table. Their voices overlapped, circling me, demanding, accusing, clawing. And I just sat there, calm, smiling, because this was exactly where I wanted them. I lifted my glass of wine, swirled it slowly, and said, You're right. I've been keeping something from you. And tonight, I'm going to tell you everything. They froze, eyes wide, breaths shallow, but I didn't give them the satisfaction yet. I wanted them restless, jittery, clawing for the truth. So I leaned back, took a sip, and whispered, But before I do, I need you to hear me out. All of you." The room went silent. I had their full attention. This was it. The moment the trap would spring, you'll hear the exact words I said to them, the reveal that shattered every illusion and left them speechless. The room was so quiet I could hear the tick of the clock on the wall. 3 faces stared at me, my sister's expectant, Megan's greedy, my mother's cold but hungry. I set my glass down, folded my hands on the table, and finally said it. "I didn't get 12,000 from Dad's friend." That was a lie. Their mouths twitched, eyes narrowing. Confusion flickered. "I didn't get an inheritance at all." I let the silence hang for a beat. Then I leaned forward, my voice calm, almost too calm. "What I got was $32 million. The air snapped. My sister gasped so loud it almost sounded like a scream. Megan's jaw dropped. My mother froze, her fork slipping from her hand and clattering against the plate. $32 million. I watched it sink in, the shock, the disbelief, the sudden rush of greed lighting up their eyes like fireworks. "You're lying," Megan whispered. "Nobody just wins that kind of money." I smiled. "Check the state lottery records. My name's right there. I claimed it months ago." My sister grabbed my wrist, her voice desperate. "Amanda, you can save us. You have to save us." And my mother, her voice was shaking, but her words were sharp. "How dare you keep this from us? Do you have any idea what we've been going through while you sit on millions?" I let her words sink into the silence, then I leaned back in my chair. "Yes, I know exactly what you've been going through." And that's the point. 3 stunned faces, 3 selfish hearts finally exposed. When I asked for help, I said softly, "You all turned me away." When I begged for support, not even money, just support, you called me selfish, irresponsible, a burden. Their mouths opened, but no sound came. "I didn't tell you about the money because I wanted to see who you really were. And now I know. You don't love me. You love what I can give you. And I won't give you a damn thing." The silence was deafening. My words cut sharper than knives. Megan's voice cracked first. "Amanda, you don't mean that." "We were family." I laughed, bitter and cold. "No, family doesn't abandon each other when times get tough. Family doesn't guilt trip and manipulate. You showed me exactly what I am to you, a wallet with a heartbeat." Their faces twisted, anger, shame, disbelief. I stood, gathering the plates from the table. My hands were steady, my voice firm. "Dinner's over. You can see yourselves out." For the first time in my life, I wasn't begging for love. I wasn't desperate for approval. I wasn't the giver, the fixer, the rescuer. I was free. I'll show you what happened after they walked out that door and how my revenge reached its final, devastating climax. When the door slammed shut behind them, my apartment fell into silence. For a long time, I just stood there, staring at the empty chairs, the half-finished plates, the wine glasses still sweating on the table. I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. I felt lighter. That night, my phone lit up like fireworks. Calls, texts, voicemails. My sister begged, "Amanda, I didn't mean what I said. Please, just help me this one time." Megan lashed out. "You're a liar and a snake. You've been laughing at us behind our backs." And my mother? Her words cut deepest. "You're ungrateful. After everything I sacrificed for you, you owe me." Oh, that word echoed in my chest like thunder. They believed I owed them. For what? For turning their backs when I needed them most. The next morning, I blocked every single number, and just like that, the begging turned into silence. But the silence wasn't peaceful. It was angry. I saw it in the way Megan showed up at my job one day, demanding to talk. I saw it in the way my sister left a note under my door, full of curses and accusations. I saw it in the way my mother's neighbors whispered about me. She must have been spreading her own story, painting herself as the victim, and still, I didn't break because this was my revenge. Not just keeping the money, but keeping myself. Refusing to be their savior. Refusing to be used. Refusing to hand them the weapon they would have used against me. Weeks passed. The silence grew heavier. The calls stopped, the knocks on my door faded, and for the first time in years, I was alone, but not lonely. I spent my mornings drinking coffee on my balcony, watching the sunrise with no weight pressing down on me. I traveled on weekends, quiet little trips just for me. I enrolled in cooking classes, bought new books, decorated my apartment the way I always wanted. Every dollar I spent was mine. Every breath I took was free. And when I thought back to that dinner table, to their greedy faces frozen in shock, I smiled. Because they finally knew the truth. They lost me long before they lost my money. I'll give you the final reflection, the closing of this chapter of my life, and the moral that carried me forward. It's been 6 months since that night. 6 months since I told them the truth. 6 months since I shut the door and walked away. Do they hate me? Probably. Do they talk about me? Absolutely. Do I care? Not anymore, because here's what I've learned. Money doesn't change people. It only shows you who they really are. When I had nothing, their love was conditional. When I had everything, their greed was limitless. Either way, I was never Amanda, the daughter, the sister, the best friend. I was Amanda, the provider. Amanda, the safety net. Amanda, the wallet, but not anymore. Now I'm Amanda, the woman who finally chose herself. The woman who no longer begs for scraps of affection. The woman who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't giving people what they want, it's showing them what they lost. I still have the 30 million. I've invested it, secured it, built a future with it. But the money isn't the prize. The prize is freedom. The prize is peace. The prize is knowing that I walked away stronger than they ever expected me to be. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd told them the truth from the start. If I'd handed out checks, paid their bills, saved their sinking ships. Would they have loved me then? Maybe, but it wouldn't have been real, and I'm done living for fake love. So here I am, telling you my story. And I'll leave you with this question. If you were me, if you suddenly had millions, but the people you trusted proved they only saw you as a bank account, what would you have done? Would you forgive them? Save them? Keep them close? Or would you do what I did, walk away, and finally truly be free? Tell me in the comments. I want to know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Because trust me, there are more stories like mine waiting to be told.